Be the Change Foundation talks about how the Color Me St. Martin project came about. Corporate Communications Officer at the airport says the mitigation and safety measures are in full effect. But first up, Calypsonian and entertainer The Mighty Magic passes away. Those are the headlines for Monday, July the 20th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, the Calypso fraternity on St. Martin is today mourning the passing of their colleague and entertainer for many years, Elias the Mighty Magic Rampasad, who passed away this morning. The island's longtime senior Calypsonian was 86 years old. Here is the late, the Mighty Magic, speaking to yours truly on my program, Now You Know, on July the 29th, back in 2017. Meanwhile, speaking to PGD2's newsroom, former president of the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, Erno Labega, remembers the late Mighty Magic as one who was up against what he referred to as the stiff competition at all times.
I have never went to Port of Spain in Trinidad to see Carnival yet. Always in South. I'm from South.
Okay.
So South is the richest part of Trinidad. We have the oil, asphalt, and coffee and everything.
Okay.
So everything had to go to Port of Spain to sell, you know. So therefore, now I never liked the idea of going there. So I as a representative of San Fran, because I used to beat pan and all these things. You know, I was from in the early days of pan. They never had a whole pan, you know, like how they have it today with all the notes. Right. You just had a few notes then. Okay. And then, you know, they had one song they used to play. Oh, shucks, I get in it. So everybody didn't know that tune, and they hear the bass and boop, 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 or they had a two-note version, and they had bamboo cut, about 5 feet or 6 feet bamboo. Mm-hmm. And like they have the joint in there, they're beating it, hitting the rocking on the road. So that was the band and everything we know for I think.
I've gotten word of the passing of the Mighty Magic, that Calypsonian. First of all, my condolences goes out to the family and friends of the Mighty Magic, Elias Rampasad. In my days as president of the Carnival Development Foundation, I think he was in every Calypso competition, probably before me, during my tenure, and many years after. Mm-hmm. Mighty Magic, he had his own style. He had his own controversial issues, but he had his own style. He was always available, always involved in the carnival competitions. I can't recall that he had won a crown, but he was involved in nearly every elimination and most Calypso finals.
Undoubtedly, the Calypso world on St. Martin in particular will miss Magic a great deal. I mean, he has performed so many different songs during Carnival, and not only Carnival, he was also a performer at the various hotels as well.
Yes, he was a performing musician, artist, so he was well known. He was known at the various sites, and of course he was known by nearly everyone in St. Martin with regards to Calypso and the music industry as well. A friendly person and known by everyone. You know, we've lost a good Calypsonian. Everybody who loved the art form of Calypso would know of the Mighty Magic and would have heard or had some kind of interaction with him in the past. His main competition in the days were King Bobo and Mighty Brat and Mighty Dow. So he was up against stiff competition at all times. So, you know, and he did well amongst the big ones.
And as we continue now with more news, and this time in news out of the island of St. Eustatius, after serving as leader of the Progressive Labour Party, the PLP, for 20 years, former councilman and founder of the political organization, Clyde Van Putten, has resigned. His resignation letter was accepted and approved by members of the PLP during a general meeting on Sunday night. At said meeting, the general membership of the party elected former Island Council member Reshalyn Leerdam by acclamation as the new political leader of the Progressive Labour Party. She is also a former faction leader of the PLP in the Island Council of St. Eustatius. Speaking to PGD2, Clyde Van Putten said that he is confident that the baton has been passed on to a young woman who is capable of leading the political organization to the next level. I do believe that there are a lot of challenges that lie ahead for this island and its people in our relationship with the kingdom as well as the surrounding islands. He said, adding that there is no better time than now to pass the leadership on to a new generation. Meanwhile, also speaking to PGD2's news department, the new president of the PLP and former councilwoman Reshalyn Leerdam noted that the idea is to continue with the objectives of the party while also embracing new ideas.
I believe that it is incumbent upon any good leader, to prepare a cadre of young people, to be able to take over when the time is right. And I believe that time is now, where I am still around in good health, very much involved and up to date on the affairs, both internationally, nationally, as well as locally, and where I can give the necessary support, to the new leadership. And so with the nomination and eventual election by acclamation of Reshalyn Leerdam, I feel very confident that the baton was turned over to a very strong, capable young woman, a new generation that will be able to take the party to the next level. I do believe that there is a lot of challenges that lies ahead for this island and its people in our relationship with the kingdom, but not only with the kingdom, even in the surrounding islands. And I believe there could be no better time than now, passing that leadership onto a new generation. And so I'm very satisfied, I'm very comfortable with the decision that I have made. Don't forget the PLP has been in existence now for 20 years. I have been the only political leader and co-founder of that party. And so I believe that, with all the young people that I was able to attract over the years to be involved and to form an integral part of this organization, I do not believe that there could be a better time than now.
One thing about the PLP party is that it always had a plan to always get new leadership and from a new generation. My plans are to still continue the goals and visions of PLP, but also to bring new ideas and have a different type of leadership based on the new realities, the new times we're in.
Have you identified any of those new ideas?
As I sit with my team, I have ideas, and as we sit with a new team, we'll sit down and discuss our new ideas, come together collectively, because leadership is not a one-man, it's a collective effort. So once we sit and discuss our new ideas, then it will be presented.
Looking at the political realities on St. Eustatius, the fact that you haven't had elections for some time now, and the Netherlands announcing recently that democracy will be restored on St. Eustatius, what are your plans if elections were to be called tomorrow? How do you intend to go through that process?
Well, based on the realities of when election is called and what the new realities will be after election, the PLP team is still deliberating, and we tend to, before the month ends, let everyone know about our intention to take part in the upcoming election. So as it pertains to the new realities after election, we're still in deliberations about that.
And now in news out of the island of Curaçao, Renox Kalmus, leader and founder of the PIN party, has also resigned from the political party he founded. He will continue now as an independent member of parliament. Kalmus was a one-man faction that supported Minister Suzanne Camelia Reumer. This means that Camelia Reumer's position as a minister is also at stake, as she no longer has the party's support. In a short statement, Kalmus indicated that there is no support from his own party for his work in Parliament. There is no respect for him. Kalmus indicated that he will give a press conference and go into detail about the conflict with his party. He will therefore clarify whether he will continue to support the Ruggenath cabinet. this can still formally count on a majority of 11 seats in the Parliament of 21 seats, but the seat of the recently deceased President of the state, William Millerson, has not yet been filed. Marilyn Akala Wale should take it, but her swearing in did not continue recently. She was not in time to present her credentials to the governor. This should be done next week. But it is said in the corridors that it is by no means certain whether she will stay with the PAR. That party prefers not to see the former Minister of Education in Parliament because she is still under criminal investigation. If Akala Wale also claims her seat as an independent member, the government of Curaçao will lose its majority. And still to come, Minister of Justice explains the problem with the function book. We'll have the detail to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Mega Wadi is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with more news, Corporate Communications Officer at the Princess Juliana International Airport, Mrs. Audrey St. Louis Jack, speaking to our news department recently in an in-depth interview on airport safety for the COVID-19 pandemic, says that the prevention and mitigation measures are in full effect. She explains more.
It's Audrey St. Louis Jack. I'm reporting live from the Princess Juliana International Airport. I'm responsible for the Corporate Communications Department here at the airport. And today we will inform you about the prevention and mitigation measures here at the SXM airport to better inform you of what we're doing to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. The Princess Juliana International Airport is making sure that the C-19 prevention and mitigation measures are in full effect, continuing on a wave of proactive and emergency responsiveness to combat the evasive COVID-19. I would like to say is the workforce at the Princess Juliana International Airport. And this started for us since January 2020, the awareness. Throughout a 3-month period, the aerodrome was partially operational as the airport adhered to the travel restrictions, as you know, which was implemented by the government of St. Martin to further maintain the precautionary measures for the inhabitants and, of course, the visitors. As a result of the travel restrictions, all commercial travel was ceased. However, the airport facilitated cargo, emergency, and repatriation flights. As you enter the terminal building of the Princess Juliana International Airport, to your first right, you will see a desk station there. You will have the members of the Collective Prevention Services, that's CPS, of the Government of St. Martin's Public Health Department, there to administer your thermal scanning before you enter to even go to the check-in counters. So what we did was, with the task force, a comprehensive C-19 prevention and mitigation plan was established, and it then prompted for the execution by the team with the guidance, of course, from the managing board. And the efforts work cohesively with the readiness for an influx of travelers in preparation to resume full operations of air transport services. With the goal to maintain the frequency of service to the key markets, SXM Airport intends to rely on its short and long-haul carriers to drive the growth into the region. That's very important. The C-19 Prevention and Mitigation Plan, it serves to protect the livelihoods of the airport community as well. And we're acknowledging detailed guidelines through the virtual and live orientation trainings for the high and low risk exposure internal groups. The ongoing trainings are entitled COVID-19 Safety at the Workplace, Training for the Airport Community. And it's facilitated by the task force. In accordance with the plan, the Don't Pass It On hygiene campaign, when you come to the airport, you'll see a lot of signage around, just basically educating you on what you need to know about COVID-19, just to be reminded of. Because there's a lot of information floating around, but we too, as the management of the airport, would like to ensure that we keep you updated on what's happening and what you should do, the do's and don'ts, because travel is definitely something that can make you very anxious and forgetful and all that good stuff. So we just want to make sure we ease your anxiety and keep reminding you of what you have to do. So look out for the signage and so forth. We installed more than 40 plexiglass shielding screens in areas like the departure gates, passport control counters, and the tourist information booth, the customer service booth, of course, to further reduce health risk and provide a safe environment for the frontline staff and the passengers. The ground handling services has also been regulated to serve the prevention and mitigation measures, as the management of the passengers' shuttle buses are required to also demonstrate more frequent cleansing of the airside-based public transportation. We are offering different levels of protection to fine-tune the mitigation measures. There's also the thermal temperature screening, the mandatory mask regulations, and the installation of additional hand sanitizers, which are just a few of the newly implemented measures. We also have a more regiment cleaning program. Look out for that as well, for all the common use areas. Our in-house hotline at 9777 for any of your concerns. I'm Audrey St. Louis Jack, reporting live here from the Princess Juliana International Airport. I hope you were very informed with all that we're doing here as a part of our prevention and mitigation measures.
And Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, speaking on the program The Prime Minister Talks, explained the function book situation that has caused the uprising with the justice workers that caused them to walk out on Wednesday and Thursday last week, July the 15th and July the 16th, respectively.
Speaking with the officers, etc., that was out there, I made a reference to the fact that, what was done in the past. Specifically, the symbolic signing of a function book, because that's what the topic is, about
Right.
the function book. It really, if we were to look at history, there was a demand to sign the function books. And my reference was, I am not going to sign something for you, meaning the function books, knowing that the proper process has not been done.
Right.
We need to sit and we need to talk about it. You will notice that I had put out an update with Balance, which is the consultancy firm, and I intently left out, as I said yesterday, any discussion or reference to the unions, because that meeting still
has
needs to happen.
Yeah.
But with respect to the unions and how things have been dealt with in the past, we need to clearly identify how that dialogue is supposed to happen. And this is what I've been trying to convey.
Okay.
Out of respect, let us set up things in the proper way that the law allows us to, and dialogue that way. Not just with the unions, but also I believe the department heads should be a part of this, that they too can receive the updates, because they play a role here. As a matter of fact, phase 2, the department heads have to be involved in that aspect in terms of the scales, etc.
What has, because I think many don't understand, when you said that this symbolic signing of the function book, what exactly is in place and what is still needed to be done?
So there are 3 phases to it. 4 in really, because the unions come into play there in the 4th area of it. But the first was to identify the job descriptions, which has been done. and that is what I made reference to, is completed. The second is being able to identify the scales. Those discussions are going to happen with a work group between the Ministry of Justice and P&O Central. And then you also now have that meet with the department heads in identify how many FTEs they need, right? Which is opportunities to hire persons or place persons. Right. So those three need to happen.
And the meeting that was set to take place at 5 p.m. on Friday last, July the 17th, 2020, between the Minister of Justice, Anna E. Richardson, and the leadership of the St. Martin Police Union, the NAPB, the St. Martin and Windward Island Civil Servants Union, the Private Sector Union, WICSU, PSU, to discuss the grievances expressed by union members, did not take place, as the union sent a notification via email at 5:05 p.m. advising the minister that they would not be in attendance. And in news now out of the Netherlands, the Democratic Party, D66, the Green Left Party, GroenLinks, and the Labour Party, PvdA, in the second chamber of the Dutch Parliament are concerned about the level of involvement that the government and parliaments of Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin will have in the proposed Caribbean reform entity. The parties, along with the Socialist Party, the SP, are also very concerned about the vulnerable groups on the islands and how the strict conditions and the reform measures, which they do deem necessary, will adversely affect this part of society in terms of poverty and unemployment. The parties expressed their concerns in a series of questions and remarks that the Second Chamber's Permanent Committee for Kingdom Relations sent to State Secretary of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations Raymond Knops last week. The committee found it necessary to have a so-called written consultation with Knops in order to get answers to their questions and to inform the State Secretary of their concerns. D66, GroenLinks, and PvdA specifically asked about the authority and composition of the Caribbean reform entity that the Dutch government wants to establish via a kingdom law, which will supervise and direct the spending of the liquidity support and the execution of the attached conditions. Some of the other areas that the parties were concerned about are Parliament's input. D66 stated that the input of the Dutch Caribbean parliaments. Does the State Secretary agree that for an effective implementation of the desired reforms, it is of importance that the democratically elected people's representation of Aruba and SP further expressed concerns about the bickering between the Netherlands and the Caribbean countries about the conditions and humanitarian aid. D66 talked about the input of the Dutch Caribbean parliaments. Does the State Secretary agree that for an effective implementation of the desired reforms, it is of importance that the democratically elected people's representation of Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin get a fitting place in the implementation and execution? Now, turning to our weather forecast for July the 20th, 2020, moisture and instability associated with a weak tropical wave passing through the region will generate occasionally cloudy skies and trigger a few isolated showers across the local area. Meanwhile, slight to moderate marine conditions are expected for the next few days. So the outlook through Wednesday morning, partly cloudy, becoming occasionally cloudy with isolated showers. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Be the Change Foundation talks about how the Color Me St. Martin project came about. We'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of Web Mobile Banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, the Be the Change Foundation, who was responsible for the murals in Phillipsburg, is very happy with the finished product. It is truly a work of art. Melanie Schwazi, president of Be the Change Foundation, along with fashion designers Zilla Duzong Hazel and artist Timothy Dowling, two of the artists responsible for some of the work done, spoke to our news department. But first, we spoke to Melanie Schwazi, and we asked the foundation's president how the project came about.
The brainchild of this entire project was that of Miss Laura Beinsdorf. She was the project coordinator and the writer of the project, for which we then sought funding for. And it was just something that we wanted to do to help beautify Phillipsburg, especially after the destruction and chaos caused by Hurricane Irma. Town in and of itself hasn't been getting as much exposure and traffic. And so, we basically saw it fit to do some sort of project to kind of spruce it up, lively it up a little bit. And also, we really considered that when the tourists are able to come back in large flocks, we really want them to get deeper into Phillipsburg. A lot of the times we see when they come off of the ship, for example, they kind of stick to the boardwalk and maybe Front Street, but a lot of them don't know that there's a back street, or maybe don't feel comfortable to walk through certain alleys in order to get to back streets. So that's kind of where the project idea really came from.
Okay. What kind of marketing are you planning on doing to let the tourists know that these murals exist?
Yeah,
and to invite them to take that stroll?
Absolutely. So a big part of the project, besides the murals in and of itself, of course, is a website where everyone can visit and download an interactive map. So you can basically see where all of the individual murals are, all 12 of them, along with, of course, historical landmarks such as, the courthouse or the Methodist Church. And so that's kind of where we're still working on the finalizing tweaks of the website. But that is a way that we would want tourists to see where all of the murals are, and of course have the relevant links from the Tourism Bureau's website and whoever else wants to share the link.
Okay. For those of us who don't know, talk to us or tell us about the Be the Change Foundation.
Sure. So Be the Change Foundation was established in 2012 with myself, my late aunt Erica Kanagiter-Smith, and actually current Minister Anna Richardson. And basically we started it with the aim to bring more awareness to local causes and initiatives on the island. We feel that there's so much good things going on by various NGOs and NPOs on the island, but a lot of people didn't know where to show their support, or if they wanted to donate funds, they didn't know, who to go to, basically. So on a monthly basis, we spotlight different organizations on the island for certain projects that they're doing, whether they be big or small. And then we ask the community at large, whether they be residents or visitors, to, donate whatever they can, as little as $1. And then at the end of the month, we pull the funds up and we give it to an organization for their specific project need. And then projects like this one in particular, or other beautification ones that we have done, are kind of just intermittent projects that we try to do throughout the year besides the Spotlight project aim. We also have a scholarship fund that we initiated after the passing of our founder, Erica Kanagiter. So it's the Dream Big Scholarship Award that's usually awarded on her birthday, July 27th, which is soon approaching.
And we will have more in our series with the Be the Change Foundation in tomorrow's edition of SXM Daily News, where we'll be talking to the two artists. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you for joining me this evening, and just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.